So this is how to lock in during your 20s so you can, if you want, choose to retire by 30. And what I want to actually clarify first, retirement, in my opinion, in this context, isn't about sitting on a beach or never working again. It's just simply about financial independence. Okay, it's having enough passive income off your dividends to choose how you spend your time. You can still work, but in my opinion, that's where I'm only going to be working on projects that I'm actually passionate about. That's just what it is to me. And I want to get this cleared up first. This decade, from 20 to 30, is, in my opinion, the next 10 years don't just affect your 30s, dude. They affect everything. And if you don't take it seriously, you are 100,000% going to pay the price later in life. I've seen it countless times with people in their 40s and 50s, even later, who just didn't do anything, right? They didn't sacrifice now, so they're having to sacrifice for the whole life. And the way that I view it is, if you sacrifice for the first 5 to 10 years of your 20s, just the 5 to 10 years of that period, you can live the rest of your life doing whatever the hell you want. So let's get into the first point. Say no to everything. And I know this is probably backwards from what you've heard. When you're in your 20s, you should just say yes to everything. You should just see how you want to learn things and how, other people that you can network with. I don't think so. I think your 20s are about subtraction, not addition. Say no to parties that don't serve you in that extent. Say no to relationships that drain you. Good women are out there. I'm not saying, take away from women, but a lot of them can also be distractions or just frankly a waste of time. That's for another video. Say no to jobs that don't teach anything. Everything that isn't a parlay to that next level, you have to say no to it, dude. Every yes, in my opinion, to something is a no. Every yes to something is a no to something else. You have to understand that, and anything that isn't towards your mission as a man, in my opinion, is a waste of time. It sounds a bit messed up, and I took this a bit too literal when I was 20 to 23. I went for a couple periods of time where I didn't talk to my parents. I didn't have many relationships, but that especially, I've talked about this before, the year of 2022 when I built my business, dude, it set me up. Maybe not for life, but it set me up for the next couple of decades. I have enough money to more or less not work for the next 12 to 15 years if I really didn't want to. So that's what you need to get to. You get the point. I don't want to beat that one too much. Point 2, be constantly evolving. You should actually be hearing, man, you changed. You want to hear you changed. You switched up. You want to hear that and hoping for those, outcomes every 6 to 12 months. You should be almost learning to morph into a new person and in a way change your entire identity. Your 20s are your most formative years. So we're almost from a young age taught to stay in this little bubble, to stay, go work the job. Don't take the risk with entrepreneurship. Don't do this and X, Y, and Z. Don't start that YouTube channel. We're taught to be conditioned and have this weird ass routine from day one, which I went against the grain. I didn't do that shit. It served me extremely well. Some people it does, okay? I get it. I have friends that are very analytical, friends that want to stay in this and they live a very happy life. It's okay, all the power to you. But if you're watching this video, that is most likely not you. That could be you. But I just think, really ask yourself, is that something you truly want? So you should always be evolving. You should always be, wanting new experiences and new things. So anyways, point 3, aim to learn one new high-ticket skill every single year. One new skill per year. If you want my example, I started with appointment setting, 2017. Then the next year, it started with closing, 2018. 2019, it started with leadership. I was leading a team of anywhere from 12 to 15 given appointment setters at any given time in my early 20s. And then eventually, once I started my own business, I learned how to copyright. I learned how to negotiate. I learned ads. This, so many skills just stacked and stacked and stacked on top of each other to where I became a machine, dude. And this is why, for most people, I can't stand skills that you're not actually putting action towards, right? You're reading from outdated content. This is school specifically that is just, not really teaching you much. You're just learning from 10, 20-year-old content. You're just internalizing everything. You're taking these tests, but you're not actually putting anything into action. You're not actually, pulling the trigger on any of these things or putting in emotion or reps. I'm always about, especially in sales, practicing. You don't do that in school, dude. That's not what you're taught to do, right? You're taught to, listen and be a good employee and be a good test taker. You're not actually taught to really have practical skills. And that's why I think this job market is so messed up, is because people think that just because they have this education, it's I actually look for what's at the bottom of a resume. What have you done that's different? Have you ran a marathon? Have you tried starting businesses? Are you working on any side projects? That to me is interesting. Seeing your diploma when thousands of other candidates have the exact same piece of paper that you do, it's dude, no offense, but why should I choose you? right? So just think about that. That's why I'm a huge fan of high ticket skills. And let's not even talk about the freelance opportunities with that. That's for another time. Point four, you need to hang around the right people, okay? And just, dude, listen, constantly audit your environment once every 30 days, once a month. Please understand that even though it's cheesy, the quote of you're the sum of the 5 closest people or 5 people in your circle, whatever it is, that is one of the realest things I've ever heard in my entire life. I cannot tell you how important it is to I've been in environments, I've been at parties, I've been at family gatherings where you just feel the energy, you feel the downness, whether it's, some drama that's happening or just general toxicity or just like these people are talking negative about money. You almost, even if I still struggle with this sometimes, where it's like, are you sure you're working on the right thing? And like 4 or 5 people will be obviously, against you and against you starting that business. And it's like you almost psych yourself out, be like, shit, maybe they're right. Versus if you're around 5 entrepreneurs, dude, do you think you'd be having those doubts? Absolutely not. That's why I forced myself into groups. I forced myself in front of mentors that were like, dude, I know these guys are well ahead of me. They're going to tell me and laugh at my face and say, dude, you need to start this business as soon as possible. Why haven't you started it sooner? Versus family members who, basically shit on that idea. You have to work against that. And your environment is a real thing. I don't care what anyone says. I'm all for locking yourself in a black hole and being able to be alone for a while. But at a certain point, you got to come up for air. You got to talk to people. You don't want to be a loser. And this is just a good way to do so. It's more a reminder, if anything. The final point, the quicker you realize that nobody cares about you, the better your life becomes. I know this is kind of more like steps on how to lock in, but this is just a high level point that I want to talk about. Everyone, especially dude, from like 19 to 28, 29, is so focused on themselves, they barely have enough time for their own life. So if you think they're thinking about you because of a couple social media posts, I promise you, even if they do for the first 30 seconds, they're not really thinking about it tonight. By the time they're sleeping on it, they're not remembering that, right? So this point helped me focus so much more versus constantly caring about what others would think when I tried starting a business or posting content or any of that kind of stuff. So it's just a small mental shift, but I cannot begin to tell you how much of an impact it made on me in my life by just reminding that everyone laughs until it works. Everyone will talk shit until they start seeing you make money. And even then, they don't care, right? So just remind yourself on that. I guess kind of a point 6, a more bonus one, if you will. Build your personal brand. If you're watching this, you probably have a phone, you probably have a laptop, which means you have a camera. Start documenting your journey. I don't need you to make freaking tutorials. I don't need you to have a crazy skill set. None of the YouTubers, maybe not none, but a good chunk of YouTubers that I watched, they didn't have a crazy skill set when they started YouTube, dude. They just started documenting what they were already interested in, right? Whether it was skills, interests, passions, whatever, create content around that. Your personal brand in your 20s becomes your real life lottery ticket, even by age 25, even if late 20s, if you start it sooner than later. If you followed me for a while, you know this is my biggest regret since doing YouTube is, in a way, kind of changed my life. Like, it's given me the dopamine and be like, dude, why didn't I do this years ago? Like, what the hell was I thinking? You don't need crazy content. You don't need crazy editing. Start with documenting what you're already doing. Just flick on the camera of cold calls that you're making. Flick on the camera of car content that you're making. It doesn't matter. Just do something, okay? So, real quick video. Wanted to get this out of the way. If you have any questions, leave them below. As always, if you made it this far, I want to see you in. See you in the next one.